What does it do, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Says. I'm your host, and welcome to episode 122, my folks. And, well, this is that time of year. Spring is damn near sprung. The weather starts to be feeling just so nice, and the birds are chirping, burp, burp, burp. And the flowers are about to bloom, Mayflowers. And it is that time of year in the NBA when it is heating up on the hardwood. We are in the home stretch. And so this episode is my post-All-Star 75 game mark Laker update episode, because we are in the home stretch on the way to the playoffs. Yes. And when we left off in the last episode, the Lakers just arrived at the All-Star break, and they were holding it down pretty well. The Lakers at the All-Star break in 2025 were 32-20. And though the seedings have shuffled quite a bit, the Lakers were in third place, and they got as high as second at one point, I believe, and now they sit in the fourth seed after going 14-9 since we last left off. There were 30 games left to play coming out of the All-Star break, and the Lakers have played 23. As I say, they've gone 14-9, and now just 7 games left to play. So let's look at it, my folks. At the 75 game mark, the Lakers sit at 46-29 after 75, and with 7 left to play, it is going to be intriguing, compelling to be sure. So let's take a look at what's happening with my Lakers. Well, now, everything was rolling along just fine, since the trade and that big epic episode we did discussing the trade and the arrival of the Don and all of that. Everything was rolling along just fine, and then Bron blew a tire, had a bit of a groin issue come up against the hated Celtics in Boston, and even though the Lakers were down in the fourth quarter, they were in striking distance, and I believe they could have got that game. But when Bron tweaked that groin, I don't think it was a pop. We'll call it a tweak, but it put him out for several games, and when he went out of that game, they were cooked. And once Bron was out of the lineup, the Lakers then stalled, struggled. And see, I think it's relevant to point out here that that's precisely what Luka was supposed to do. He was supposed to pick up the slack, make up the difference when Bron was unavailable, when Bron needed rest, if Bron, God forbid, was injured. And, Luka puts up 30-point games with fair regularity, but we didn't see the outcome in victories. And so the Lakers struggled and bumped along without Bron. And to be fair now, we've seen this around the NBA. We saw it with Denver when the Joker went out for several games, and Denver coughed up a lot of games. And so we've seen it in various scenarios around the league where, an integral part of the team is out for a while and productivity drops and the team falters. So the Lakers have managed, as I say, to to find themselves at a 14-9 mark since the All-Star break after 23 games. And, well, that's good enough for fourth place as it stands after 75 with just 7 more to play. And so let's pick up right there. Let's look at the scenario. Let's look at all the extenuating circumstances around the Lakers' drive to the postseason. Well, now, the Lakers were rolling along pretty fine, as I mentioned, and the game before Bron's groin injury, they had whooped them tricks. They beat New York at the Crib in downtown LA. And during the course of whooping them tricks, between the third quarter and the fourth quarter of that tricks game, why, Bron decided that he couldn't go any further without confronting and addressing the Muppet. You know who the Muppet is, my folks. Stephen A. That's who he is. And I say that because, with all due respect, he puts me in the mind of a Muppet. He's very Muppety. And let's borrow a couple of his phrases. He is an egregious bloviator. Yes, he is. An egregious bloviator. The Muppet is. He is outlandish. He is buffoonish. He is cartoonish. He is the Muppet. But he has a very loud microphone, doesn't he? He has power. His voice is amplified across the airwaves of the sports world and beyond. He's dabbling around in politics. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the Muppet doesn't really know diddly-do squat about politics. He's basing his politics on things he's heard from other people. I can tell he's not politically sophisticated. But it's like with other situations and scenarios. If you become famous in this culture, for whatever it is, you are automatically given access to amplification. Let's say you're a great rebounder. How about that? That's all you do. You don't have to be that bright. You don't have to be that sharp or that charming, but you're a damn good rebounder, good enough to where you can make a living at it, good enough to where you get to the highest levels of basketball, the NBA. And let's say your name is Dennis Rodman, and you, a great rebounder, end up, you win championships and you become famous, and now, years after your basketball career is over, you are amplified. Your voice, foolish though it may be, your thoughts, twisted as they may be, are amplified to the world because by virtue of the fact you were a damn good rebounder for a while. Or Barkley. Good basketball player, bounce that rock and shoot and score and dunk, rebound, a round mound of rebound, and then his career is over, and now look at him. He's got a voice. He's doing CNN talk shows with Gayle King. This man is not, I'll put it this way. Barkles is not the sharpest tool in the shed, okay? Yet, by virtue of the fact that he was good at basketball, now he has amplification. I'm sure he could run for, Alabama, maybe not. Point being, the society gives people who, in many ways, have no qualifications whatsoever, they give them access to the heights of power. Look at the presidency. digress. My point only is this. The Muppet is loud and ostentatious and blustery and quite buffoonish. But the Muppet has reach. And it just so happened that the Muppet was sitting courtside because, you know, he loves the tricks. He's a trick fan. And so, between the third and the fourth quarter of the Lakers tricks game, why, LeBron James just couldn't help himself. He couldn't go any further. He couldn't wait till the game was over. He needed to then and there go to the Muppet, confront him, and let him know. He let him know, keep my son's name out your mouth. Well, something like that. I mean, honestly, it did give off big Will Smith energy, didn't it? But the thing is, my folks, the Muppet has said on many an occasion, well, I'm always at the games, the Muppet exclaims. Anybody have a problem with me? I'm at the games. Come see me. You know where to find me. I'm easy to find. I'm right there, courtside. You see me? Come holler at your boy. That's another thing about the Muppet. He's got those tendencies. You know what I mean? Like a big bowl of chitlins will be right up his alley, don't you think? He's got those tendencies. Holla at your boy, the 60-year-old man. Well, I guess LeBron James said, I will take you up on that offer. I'm gonna holla at you, boy. Since you sitting here courtside, bloviating with Larry David and, big shots. And LeBron walked right up to him, and of course, you've seen it. You've seen the footage of it. He walked right up to him, and you could see he towers over him, and he's telling him something, and he's got that keep my son's name out your mouth energy. And you see the Muppet only from the back, but you can kind of just very almost imperceptibly, you could see him shivering there a little bit, just a wee bit. Like the back of his pants fill out a little bit. And then Bron walks off. He looks around a little. Anybody see it? Yes, everybody did, didn't they? Okay, and he goes back. And then he goes back and plays the game and wins the game. How about that for compartmentalization? Okay? And of course, why? It blew up into a firestorm. Bron confronts the Muppet. OMG. And it's everybody. So I've got to address it, refer to it. All right. So let me start by saying this. If you haven't already guessed, I don't particularly care for the Muppet. However, I will say that I think there's something to the suggestion that LeBron wouldn't have done that to, say, Skip Bayless Sniff. And Sniff has been LeBron James' most vociferous critic of all, probably. Sniff. But Bron probably never would have confronted Sniff. I don't know. We'll never know. It's all speculation. It just like I doubt if Will Smith would have ever considered doing such a thing to Seinfeld or insert any white comedian hosting the Oscars, Jimmy Kimmel, whoever. He would have never done it, but to Chris Rock, it's on the table. And so, similarly, I do get that vibe that, but beyond that, the Muppet is one deserving of being checked. Oh, yes, indeed. Good checking is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Muppet. But see, the Muppet, he's silent there in the moment, and then once he's safe and away and he's in his studio and he's got his microphone and his phone and his cameras, now he's talking real big and tough. Did you notice that? He starts, what I swung on him, and let me tell you this right now, and that was weak, and you blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wow, I didn't see any of that. Blah, 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 blah. None of that when he was standing there. When he was standing there checking you, you were silent like a statue at attention. Now, in your studio, and if I would have and could have and should have, and boy, you tell you what, and better not, and it's weak, and Okay, Muppet. And then Bron goes on the Muppets competitor, McAfee. He goes on there and he blasts the Muppet some more. And then the Muppet comes back and they're going back and forth over the air, And the Muppet is dredging up all this dirt and garbage and filth. The Muppet is talking about you weren't at Kobe's funeral. Why you dragging Kobe into this, Muppet? I was like, Then I thought, man, maybe Bron should have gave you a quick one. Just a little one. Like with gloves. Like you see in the old movies when they were challenging them to a duel. Bron should have pulled out a pair of like weightlifting gloves out of his pocket, out of his shorts, and just smacked him with the fingertips of the glove. Muppet, you fool. Keep my son's name out your mouth. And so I'll just wrap this whole rabbit hole digression up by saying you need a new voice. You need a new perspective. Aren't you tired of the Muppet and Sniff? And I think Big Buck Huck's funny. He's hilarious. But you need another way of looking at some of these things. And that's why I say you're always welcome here on the outskirts of the city where I promise, I guarantee you I will give you the real. So please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now back to regularly scheduled programming. Right after all of that hoorah with the Muppet, the very next game against Boston, Bron is hit by the injury bug, like the basketball guys said, shouldn't have done that, Bron. Keep it after the game. Don't intermix the game and personal. And so, and I will deviate once again here because I have to say this. I try not to fool with the Ferret because I know what the Ferret is, what he's about. I get his whole deal. And I don't care for it. And the Meerkat's worse. For real. But we only have so many options, right? And I saw, this may have been the last episode of the Ferret I watched. The Ferret was on the air, openly speculating, postulating that LeBron intentionally, purposefully, essentially faked his groin injury so that he could have time off and let the kids have it and figure it out for a while. Dad's going to rest. And I mean, at first, it's like, oh, okay, he's just trying to make like an analogy or, he's drawing a metaphor. No, he kept saying it as though LeBron wasn't really injured. Like he was proving a point, showing the Lakers that, this is what you got without me. And I need time off because the schedule's going to get hectic. And it was an intentional, purposeful, like a flim-flam by LeBron. And I thought, Ferret, you're disgusting. That you can openly postulate that kind of thing. And you know what? I'll bet you Bron never would have accosted the Ferret either. Now, the Meerkat, that's a different story. Meerkat might get hollered at. Again, I digress. But I would like to make this point. Every now and then, I actually do agree with the ferret. Every now and then. It's not often. But recently, I did hear the ferret say something that I believe is, in fact, accurate. And that it is LeBron that makes it all go, not Luka. See, the Luka apologists, they'll never hold Luka's tootsies to the fire. The Luka apologists will never hold him accountable or examine honestly the warts and flaws in his game. No. But the ferret does. And for that, I do give him credit. And Luka does have warts and flaws, to be sure. And so, when Bron went out, I hoped that this would be the opportunity for Luka to show LA and Dallas too. To show them all, this is what you gave up on. Now look what the Lakers got. Watch me as I work. Pow, pow, pow. Regrettably, however, it was a mixed bag over those several games that the King was out. And we saw more evidence of why, perhaps, Dallas felt so inclined as to part ways. And let me just digress once again, because I'd like to say here, since the last episode where I gave you a Scotty's Masterpiece Theater episode, since that episode, I've heard reports that the Dallas Mavericks offered Luka to other teams before the Lakers. You know, because we were led to believe for the longest time that it was just this hush-hush quiet deal that was discussed just between these two old pals, Pelinka and Nico. That was it, and they were the only ones you dig. No, well, I knew that wasn't the case, but as it turns out, there have been reports that, did you hear them? That they shopped Luka to at least one other team before they called LA. So, how many teams did they shop Luka to before they got to the Lakers Anthony Davis phone call? The report is that Dallas, Nico, they contacted the general manager, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they offered Luka in a trade for the Ant-Man. Yes, they wanted to swap Luka for Anthony Edwards, right? And how would that Masterpiece Theater episode go? Can you imagine Nico calling the GM of the Minnesota Timberwolves? Nico Harrison on the line. I've got an offer for you. It's intriguing. I hope you're interested. I'd like to trade you Luka Doncic. Luka for Anthony Edwards. Hello? Hello? Dow Jones. He hung up on him. Get out of here with that. So, they tried to get Ant-Man for Luka. They said no. Who else did they call, I wonder? They probably tried Shea. They probably called OKC. Hello? Nico Harrison on the line. Like to offer a trade. We'd like to offer you Luka Doncic for SGA. Hello? Hello? Who's next on the list? And then they got to the Lakers. Bring! Hi, Rob. Nico here. Like to offer you Luka for Anthony Davis. Are you still there? Are you still there, Rob? Oh, yes, I'm here. Oh, yeah. And the deal was done. How interesting. But the thing that I keep wondering is, what did did Dallas know? Because you, on its surface, you would say, why would you make a deal like that? It's almost like it's a fire sale, going out of business. Hurry, please buy. Did Dallas know something? Is there a fly in the soup? You know what I wonder, honestly, my folks? I wonder, have we seen the best of Luka Doncic? That's what I wonder. Have we seen the peak, the apex? Is it all just downhill, slow decline from here? Did they unload post-peak Luka? I mean, I know we unloaded post-peak AD, so, no trade, no robbery, they say. Or as Chick would say, no harm, no foul. But a lot of people have this idea that for the next 10 years, we have the foundational piece, the superstar that will lead us into the championship future. Well, do we though? Well, we'll see. And I'm not saying we don't. I certainly hope so. I am a Laker fan. But I wonder, I watch the games, and honestly, I'll tell you, the numbers aren't as bad as the eye test. It looks to me, the eye test, Luka misses a lot of shots. He's a high-volume shooter, and he misses a lot. And those threes, as I said last episode, when he's taking all those threes, and when they're clanking, when they're not dropping, he becomes a liability, because unlike other players who say, oh, my shot's not falling tonight, let me make up the difference on the boards, clean the glass, let me make up the difference with assists, get my other teammates going, let me make up the difference playing defense. No, when Luka's shot's not falling, you know what he does? He just keeps shooting them. He's like, it'll go in eventually. Luka takes about 10 threes a game, hits a little over 3 of them. I mean, and then the defensive piece of it, that's well documented that they griped about the defensive side of it. And whew, I tell you what, the games since Bron went out, you could see they hunt Luka, especially down the stretch. Remember the Chicago game, the first one? Man, Kobe White, care to dance? They find Luka. One guy, he was about to run up to set a screen. Halliburton, the Pacers. Remember that one? He's about to run up to set a screen. Halliburton was like, no, this is my dance partner. Leave me be here with Luka. Luka, care to dance? And get the crossing him over, that dribble drive and hesitation, and then Luka is going the other way, free lane to the basket, layup drill. Can it dance? And so if that shot's not falling, if they waltzing past you on defense, man, this dude can be a liability, to be sure. And then all the crying and everything. I mean, for me, I never was a big fan of it from afar. And so now I'm seeing it up close. We'll see. The jury is still out. And as I say, the numbers are not as bad as what it seems to the eye test. And you do have to give the young man some grace. I mean, Dallas basically bushwhacked him in the middle of the night. They flipped his whole world upside down and said, get out of here, Luka. And, maybe there's an emotional aspect to it that's affecting him. Maybe there is the psychological piece of it. Trying to go from your world, your kingdom, your team to this is Bron's team, and I've always revered Bron, and I'm trying to fit in, but I'm trying to be me. there's an adjustment involved. And the one thing you can say about Luka is he is not bashful. He will shoot. He told Finney Smith, he told him, if you don't want to take the shot, I will take it. Don't laugh, because he know you. Yes, he will. Oh, he will take it now. So we got a chance to see all this without Bron in the lineup. And, it was a mixed bag. We saw, and Luka would put up 30. He would give you 30 in a given game, but he's dancing on the defensive end, and then Bron comes back, and well, now you got to try and fit the pieces all back together, and Bron's not 100%. And then you got Chicago again. This time it's Giddy at the buzzer. He shot, that's a bullseye shot for real, because he shot that from the Bulls' left eye, the logo, beyond half court, the left eye of the Bull. 3 game with no time left on the clock. And I give the Lakers credit again, because after a heartbreak loss, they come right back and muscle back against Memphis. And don't forget now, Bron came back with that tap at the buzzer. Luka missed the runner in the lane to win the game, and Bron right there with the tap, rebound, score, game at the buzzer. And then one game later, Giddy killing them from the bullseye. And then they come right back. And they get the Grizz. And so, this is where we are right now. Bronny finally starting to get a little bit of run with so many injuries. And Bronny had been playing fairly well, they say, down in the G League. And so, the Lakers had lost 3 in a row, I believe it was, or so. And, the Milwaukee game comes up and they were out of bodies, and Bronny got some run. Bronny got some run. Bronny put up 17 points against the Bucks in a blowout loss. 17 points, I believe he had 5 rebounds, 4 assists. And so the Muppet was forced to come out and on his podcast or somewhere make an apology of sorts, saying maybe he was wrong about Bronny. Maybe he does belong. You Muppety fool. All right, so now here we are, 7 games left to play. Lakers just coming off a hard-fought win over Houston, and I noticed certain teams, they depress numbers, they depress scores with their defense. OKC depresses numbers and scores. Kobe White was running through the league, putting up 35 a game, and then he played OKC and got 6 or 7. And Houston has a way of doing that. And the Lakers do also, depressing numbers and keeping the scores down. And so that was a tough, hard-fought win they got over Houston. And so now, after 75 games, the Lakers sitting in the 4 seed, 7 games left to play. Let's look at it. Well, next up, it's the Warriors, the Dubs, and then the Pellies, and then 2 with the Thunder, back-to-back in OKC. I guess they're just going to stay in OKC for a week. And then they go to Dallas. Luka returns. Who knows what to expect from Luka in that game? Will he light the building on fire? Will he be hitting from every which way? Or will he be cold as a rock, missing, throwing up bricks left and right? We'll have to see. And then the Rockets again. who are just ahead of the Lakers in the 2 seed. And then the final game of the season, number 7, at Portland. And then it'll be time for the playoffs. And so, who will be this year's MVP? Well, it looks to be all sewn up. It looks to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander by a mile. But I'll tell you what the Joker is doing is extraordinary. The man is in the top 3 in points, rebounds, and assists. Think about this now. And he's in the top 3 in steals. This dude is in the top 3 in the entire NBA, top 3 in each of these statistical categories. In points scored, in rebounds, in assists, and steals. That is extraordinary. And he's shooting 41% from 3. This is his best year shooting a 3 in his career. So he's having a better year this year than any of the 3 years where he won the MVP. But rightly, I would agree. SGA. Jordan didn't win the MVP every year, even though he could have. And SGA, he is the scoring leader on the best team by a mile in the West, and probably in the league, unless you deal with them fellas from Boston. But I just had to say, the Joker's something else. The Joker ain't no joke. I just watched him have a 60-point triple-double. Now, it was double overtime, I grant you, but a 60-point triple-double. He had a 20-20-20 triple-double. I mean, it's just these extraordinary numbers. That's the only way I can describe it. So, it has been an exceptional year in the NBA for all the naysayers and the people wringing their hands about the NBA. The product isn't as good, isn't what it should be, what it ought to be. Get the hell out of here with that. This has been an exceptional season in the NBA, and you know how it's going to be even better when the Lakers run all the way to the finals and whoop the Boston Celtics and bring home another championship. And so until then, I'll be here to cover it because, in just about 7 games, I'll be back with a final NBA season wrap-up episode and playoff preview episode. And so until then, what I'm going to ask right now from you, what I need for you to do is throw me one of these. Please like the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. And until the next one, which won't be too long from this one. Scotty says, thanks for watching. One love.